Hey guys, this is Those Guys with your host Matt Marrero along with the other host.
Tristan Walter.
And this will be a very, very, very short episode today because we're doing a very short film. Well, not very short, but still 20 minutes long. It's called Zygote. You can actually catch it on YouTube, so you can get it for free, watch it for free. It's by Oats Studios. And I have a feeling, maybe I'm wrong here, but I think it's going to be turned into a game, or it's a prologue for a game or something. It sounds weird, but it's not even the ending, the way it ended. It's the fact that, and of course, there's going to be spoilers in this, guys. So, pause the video if you want to go watch it on YouTube. It's weird to me that it ended the way it did, but more importantly, the fact that apparently it's going to be on Steam, or it is on Steam.
Yeah, it is.
That's should that be confusing to me, or does Steam have movies and videos now, and I don't know about it?
I've never seen that personally, but maybe it's a new thing they're starting up, or maybe they just maybe they worked it out with Steam and said, hey, can we do this, because they're a popular platform usually for games. But yeah, because it looks like there's also other things you can get, like if you buy it on Steam, there's like concept art and like 3D assets, script, stuff like that you can get with it. So
that's super fucking weird.
Yeah.
Now, granted, support the creators, right?
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah, I think it's the idea they want to support, get support for this, and they're either working on Volume 2 or waiting to release Volume 2. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so this, if any of you, this is Volume 1. If any of you don't know yet, but I mean, hopefully you went to go watch the video, unless you're using this as a means to see if it's worth it or not. And yeah, it's only 20 minutes long. It stars Dakota Fanning, if that makes you go, well, now I have to go see it. For me, well, it's interesting. I think the only issue with this 20-minute short, literally the only issue, was the audio mixing.
Really?
It was very hard for me to hear him. It was very hard for me to hear certain pieces of dialogue. And thankfully, I went to the comments because I watched it on YouTube, and I was not alone. A lot of people agreed. For some odd reason, it didn't. Like, that's the only thing. If they were just working on the effects and the atmosphere, and someone else, obviously this is a small indie studio. I would assume they're smaller. If someone else helped them with the audio, then I think this would be one of the best things I've seen in a while. Because that's literally the only thing. Because to think that this is such a small studio, I mean, I would argue that they're a small studio. That's what I'm hearing in the comments. That's what it seems like when I'm watching this, that it's not a major Hollywood production. Yet still, they managed to make such an interesting atmosphere, such a scary monster.
Yeah.
And they didn't give away too much, but they gave away enough that, and it's funny because it was very hard for me to pick up on what was going on. Thankfully, captions exist, right? So the captions were good. But, what I want to know is, you're the one who suggested this to me. You sent me a little, I think it might have been a Facebook mashup where like they cut up clips from this movie trying to promote it, saying like, oh, a cool indie horror film. So how did you find it? Like, you were just scrolling through Facebook and you ended up seeing it?
Yeah, pretty much. And I saw it, and I'm like, I thought it was creepy at first. Like, it just looked cool. I'm like, Matt would probably appreciate this, so I sent it to you, and well, here we are.
Yeah, no, and then I said, oh, let's bring back Monday Night Movies, because we haven't been able to do that this month. Let's bring back Monday Night Movies and let's see where that can go. And you were like, oh, I wasn't even thinking of it that way. And I said, but I was. I saw dollar signs in those hands.
Of course you are.
There was so many hands, man. There was
you or the monster, or both?
Yeah, sure. I really feel like a bit of an asshole, and I know you might be like, Matt, that's new for you, but I feel like
we're only 2 minutes in.
I know, right? I feel like a bit of an asshole because anytime I see monsters now, I feel like this weird anime purist. Like, anytime I see monsters now, the more grotesque. And immediately I'm just like, that's Akira. So all I can think was just the hand high-fiving itself for seeing Akira, because it's just so. Well, no, because that's all I can think of when I saw it kind of sliding around and being more of like, in some cases, what's weird is I didn't know, like, I wish we would have gotten it was weird to say better look, because they showed a lot of the monster, but they made sure to hide it behind things or, obscure it in some way or another. So it was hard for me to tell. Like, I obviously like, oh, it's made of hands, Matt. But even then, it wasn't like we didn't really get a close up other than the eyes, which holy shit, the eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you did get a few, like one or two, even three, I'd say, like shots of it, like the full monster. It was only for a few seconds, but if you actually look at it in those shots, like you'll see the whole thing.
Right.
And it's just this, like it takes a humanoid form in the sense that it's 2 legs, 2 arms, torso and head, seemingly. But all of that is an amalgamation of each of those body parts of a human. So
yes.
It's like multiple legs, multiple arms and hands coming off, branching off.
Right.
And then just what's supposed to be the head is just this lobe of eyeballs.
And I think, and that's why I'm saying that I think I would like to get the concept art to maybe, I don't want to say see what's underneath, but kind of get a bigger, like a better understanding of, like, is it all just hands even at its core? Because that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, I'm wondering what the original, like, monster was before, unless, I mean, maybe it was an amalgamation from the very beginning and it just added on more and more and more as it terrorized this seemingly secret science/military installation.
yes.
I'm assuming is underground?
All I can tell you is this much. In the first 3 minutes, another reason, this is the biggest reason I think why I felt like an asshole. In the first 3 minutes, I was just waiting for Peter Capaldi to show up as the Doctor.
Oh my god. I mean, it does kind of feel like that, doesn't it?
No, it does. I would not be surprised if BBC just contacts Oat Studios and it's like, come on, let's just do this for Volume 2. Come on. I would not be...
Hey, I'd support that.
I mean, honestly, other than the more grotesque, not even the monster, because the monster, arguably, you could go, that makes sense in a Doctor Who episode. Other than I cut out my own eyes, here's a person whose eyes are, cut out, or
right.
The brain and the guts and all that stuff. Minus that, it really does feel like we're looking at an episode of Doctor Who, honestly. And that's not a bad thing, because you and I love Doctor Who. We do Doctor Who Wednesdays all the time. But I do wonder if that was a bit of a... Because people in the comments were saying, it's a bit more... And I think it's because of the fact that it's on Steam. You start thinking of video games more. People were talking about Dead Space. People were talking about...
Yeah. I got a feel for that as well, too.
Yes. And it's interesting because, I should be going for video game first, but my first thought, because of how many space stations, underground or above ground or in space, obviously... have existed in Doctor Who recently, that was my first thought, because I don't really play video games like Dead Space a lot. I played some sci-fi stuff, but any chance that I do, on those guys play on our Let's Play channel, it's mostly old school stuff. So, like, if you told me it's a space station, I'd be like, Crash Bandicoot 2, and it's like, they did not make a Crash Bandicoot 2 adaptation. Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I think of, like, Crash Bandicoot 2 or, like, Mega Man X. So, seeing it like this, it was really cool. I just really think that the dialogue, at least when he was talking at the table, but more importantly, the worst piece of mixing was when they had their masks on, and the masks are supposed to cover what they're saying, obviously.
Yeah.
But it did it to the point where I'm like, look, guys, that's not good, right? So I think that maybe they need to, in the future, and I'm not saying they didn't do this. I don't want to make them seem like they're like, 5 people in a room, because that's rude, right? That's just us. But we're 5 people in a room always, usually. But I think that they should get someone to look over the movie who doesn't have the script in front of them, who's never read the script, who has no familiarity with the product.
Right.
Because I do wonder if, it's a very, let's say, a smaller operation. Everyone who's working on the audio knows what's supposed to be said. So you end up going, yeah, I know what they're saying, because I have, I obviously know I have it right here, or I'm the one who wrote it, or whatever. So it's all, yeah, obviously I know. But if there's someone who is a blank slate completely, like you or I, we're like, ooh, what are they saying right now? Let me put on the captions, which you don't necessarily want to put on captions unless you are hard of hearing.
Yeah.
And I don't believe I'm getting there yet. Eventually. parts of me are breaking down due to lack of sleep and malnutrition, but not my ears. I can hear just fine. Hallucinations, though, heavy, but I can hear them clearly. Yeah. But seriously, though,
I feel like
yeah.
that bit is more for effect than anything else, and I don't feel as if what they say in that moment when they're going across, I guess it was either another room or it was going from one building to another.
Well, yes, because they have to get closer to the vault.
Yeah. I feel like it's not intrinsically important if you understand all of the dialogue that they're saying to each other while they're crossing that bit. So I don't feel like that was really that much of an issue.
But then I think it's right. But then I think that's not a good effect. Then, like, you should never give dialogue and then obscure it and then say, well, it wasn't important, that's why the effect was there. Then don't, like, I can't think of any moment.
I mean, more of in a sense, it's not like they said anything important to the story. It wasn't an explanation. It was just them, like, we need to get to the door, like, and, him, trying to kind of struggle to get to his feet, stuff like that.
Great.
I feel like you can kind of take more from their body language or the situation that they're in other than them just saying it aloud.
That's a great point. I'm just trying to say this. Not just in that moment. While I have the captions on now, it seems as if this guy is speaking a completely different language. And that's nothing against him or his accent. It's just against the music, everything else, the entire atmosphere they have going on. I'm now hearing him, or not hearing him because it's muted, but as everyone knows, longtime listeners know, I'll have something on in the background, whatever we're podcasting on in the background, as we're talking about it, and literally I'm reading this and I'm going, yeah, I didn't pick up most of this, which is horrible. Yeah.
Well, because I would say at least for me, it almost puts you in the seat of the character that he's talking to. Oh, God, I can't remember her name right now, but the other person that he's working to get out to the vault with, because imagine what's going through her head right now, trying to keep everything he's saying in mind as, you're freaking out as this thing's coming to kill you slowly, and you hear it screaming in the background. I know, as you might say, as a person watching this, that's not exactly like the best thing. You want to be able to hear concisely what's going on, but I find it kind of interesting in the sense that...
Well, I'll say this, though. If you understood less than I did, you're like, I think he said vault, and now he's cutting off his finger. Like, she clearly understands more than that. Otherwise, she'd be like, what? Every 5 seconds. So clearly...
I think it's more the shock. It's like, I hear what you're saying, but not all of it's sticking because I'm too busy trying not to die at this moment. Right.
I'm just saying that that's not good. Even if that's true, even if I'm going to go with that 100%, then that's a bad choice. Because I can't understand what's going on. So I literally don't know what's going on.
Okay.
I can't imagine a movie or a short where I don't understand what's going on. But, holy shit, was because once they got away from anything that needed dialogue, and it's funny because they had the pre-recorded messages perfectly. Like that woman's voice saying like,
right.
Hey, you're going to die. Oh, look at that. Time to die.
You do not have access.
You do not have access. You do not have access. It felt like I was imagining the Digimon movie, if anyone remembers the Digimon movie dub, where it's just like, please, your calls are going through. Please try again later. And Tai tries it 3 times, and apparently it's not a robot. And she's like, I said to try again later. He's like, geez, lady, fine.
Right, yeah.
So I just imagine access denied. Are you trying the exact same thumbprint? Because I'm pretty sure that you're trying the exact same fucking thumbprint. But what do I know? Because I'm not about to die. Oh, God.
That was the other entirely creepy thing, is that it has the hands of seemingly the people that work there, and it can grant it access. So it's like you think, like a fingerprint scanner, that's pretty, decent way to keep security. Oh, crap.
What's crazy to me about it isn't that it did that. It's that it's funny in a way. It apparently it gains all the person's memories by going, I guess, through the eyes into the brain before absorbing them and taking their body parts like hands or feet or whatever. What's funny to me is that apparently it's like trying to find hands. Like, it's just like, I got so many hands, I can't even hold them. But seriously, which one grants me access to kill these people? Because, like, it should know which hand is which, but it's just gotten so much shit in there. It's just like, is it this hand? Come the fuck on, spiritual Tom.
Well,
sorry, man, I thought I had access.
It feels like it gets it right more than the girl she's trying to get away, because she doesn't know which hand is the right one either.
Well, no, she doesn't know, but he tried a few times, and probably just for dramatic effect. But he being the beast, the being the zygote,
Monster.
tried a few times before she got in, and then she started using the gun on him. So it tried a few times. So I just imagine internally there's just a bunch of people. I have access. No, you fucking don't. Stop it. Stop lying to me to save them. Stop it.
I was going to say, if you have that many voices in your head, it might be hard to access the information that you want to get to.
Probably.
And granted, hell, my memory, I have enough trouble trying to keep, track of all the shit that's in my head.
Exactly. You have one person in there, and it's you. And
right.
Yeah. But
We'll go with that.
Yeah, you have to deal with that. But what I was gonna say is that what's so interesting is apparently it shows people things, because he said, I saw a bright light and I had to look away, but I couldn't. And by looking into it, I had to gouge out my own eyes, which is kind of crazy because he's like, I don't see, but I still see it all the time. And it's like, well, yeah, if you had kept your eyes, you could have been distracted. But now all you see is the darkness, whatever you saw in that bright light. But that was horrifying in itself. Just, I cut my eyes out and I'm still alive somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's super interesting. This monster is interesting. I want to see where it goes. I can't wait for Volume 2. We'll definitely be talking about that when that comes out, regardless of what month we're in. It's, this was such a beautiful thing, and I think it just shows you how, and I'm not trying to sit here and make it seem like, well, indies are the next Hollywood, or you don't need Hollywood anymore, so we shouldn't go watch Hollywood movies. I'm not saying that directly, right? Because, again, I talk about the sound mixing. That may have been better if it was a Hollywood picture. But we do have to sit back and think that you don't need, there's no barrier anymore. And I think that's what's beautiful about a movie like this, where I can only imagine, a movie like this in the 80s would have looked like one of those tokusatsu movies that we talk about on Friday Night Movies, but with a lot less of a budget.
Right.
It would have looked like The Fly, but if you had gotten the supplies from Party City and had it would have just been so hard to make something like this, is my point, right? Like, you would have basically made it look like a low-rent tokusatsu, or a low-budget tokusatsu, which the phrase low-budget tokusatsu, it's laughable because that's already the point, right, of it being toku. But it would be even less of a high budget. And you sit there and you're like, wow, the fact that this could come out. And I don't know how much money they put into it, to be fair. But my point is that to make a monster like that, your first thought is, oh, so is that coming out, this October? Or is this a trailer coming out sometime next year? And you're like, no, this was just an internet short.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It's so interesting to see a CGI monster like that, and to not have it be a Hollywood production.
Yeah.
Now, again, it's not like 5 people, right? But it's still something beautiful that I think I'm really starting to enjoy. And I'm not saying, I say starting to as if something like this has never happened, but it just feels nice to be able to see the see filmmaking techniques being applied, and having these movies being shared through YouTube and other avenues, rather than having to sit there and go, well, we don't have the funding to make this a 2-hour affair or an hour and 20-minute affair, so I guess it's never going to get created because no one in Hollywood wants to pick it up, because as much as they love Dakota Fanning, she isn't Scarlett Johansson.
Right, and you know what? Hats off to her, because I think she did her performance was good in this. Yeah,
both of them were. I talk about,
of course.
I talk about me not being able to understand him, but in terms of, in terms of his acting ability, and in terms of, how he moved around, and I say how he moved around.
Yeah.
Spatial
Both
awareness.
of them were very convincing, I thought. Like,
Yes.
You really get the sense that, yes, they're either in pain or they're terrified. And, I mean, we've talked about in other things how it's kind of hard, because I'm assuming the monster is, well, I mean, obviously it's, you know, either CG or green screen or whatever, you know, effect that's used to capture it, and being able to react to something like that without it, like, I'm not sure if they used something like a rubber suit or whatever to have it be in front of her to help emote, but I thought when she was facing the monster as she gets into the vault was very convincing.
Well,
For not having another person maybe be there.
yeah, one of three things had to happen to make that work. Either they had a tennis ball on a stick, right? They actually had the guy in the motion capture suit running after her, which if you've seen someone with all those electrodes, they look scary enough.
True.
Or it was a practical effect where they killed a lot of interns and a lot of extras. It's a practical effect, but they probably, well, I'm sorry, they didn't have to kill them, but they cut off a lot of hands, a lot of feet, and a lot of eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing they had to get those body parts from somewhere.
I mean, that's what you imagine, right? And they were intact, so it's not like you went into a graveyard, because that would just be tacky. Oh God, that joke got dark real quick. No, but all seriousness, they probably used either the tennis ball or they actually got someone to, like, you know, the person doing the motion capture to run after her. What I think was, and you know what's funny, I was going to mention that too, so I'm very happy you brought it up, just the idea of, you know, people complain all the time, actors complain all the time, and I don't use the word complain actually, because some people think of the word complain and they think that it's, you know, oh, you're just whining. But no, actors do sit there and say, hey, it's really rough working with, you know, people say, oh, you're getting paid millions of dollars. Yeah, but you might be on a set alone for months with no other human contact. And all you have are puppets and tennis balls with eyes. And then in the movie, it's just like, look at this beautiful, lovely land surrounding us. Oh, this is so beautiful. It's it's an enchanted forest. And the entire time, the person in the movie is like, kill me, inside their head. Because they don't see an enchanted forest. They see a soundstage. You know? Yeah. So having her look is, and I have to admit, when she was first running away, I thought, all right, I didn't want her to die or anything, but I was like, this is okay, whatever. But as it kept on coming corner to corner, and it kept on it kept on feeling like she was going to get closer and closer to the vault, I was actually getting terrified. Like I was actually I was like clenching my fists. I was like, come on, you got to do it, Dakota Fanning, you got to do it. And her name was Barkley,
yeah.
but. Barkley, but I know her as Dakota Fanning. Not personally, just by film. So I'm like, Dakota, you can do it, Dakota. And she did it. But oh my God, it was weird when she shot the monster down, because I was like, you had about like 60 people on board, 58 people on board?
Right.
Could they have not shot it?
I mean, I think, and the other guy, Quinn, he was talking about there seem to be different classes, quote unquote, in the station itself. So maybe not all had access to military weaponry or any weaponry that could really do much against it.
Okay, that's a good point. I'll give you that. There's a good chance that others. So it took out most of them until the other ones didn't really have a handling on what to do. And also,
it also takes it seems like quite a few rounds, because the first gun that she used, the machine gun, didn't really have much effect on it. It only really stunned it long enough for her to take the hands off of it with the pistol that he had with explosive rounds, he had made a point of saying.
Right. Okay, so then he's saying, I made these rounds, used them, and then when she used them, it clearly didn't kill it, but it definitely, it didn't stun it either, though. I would argue that it fatally injured, but again, it doesn't mean that it...
Yeah, I feel like it stalled it, is what I'm saying. It wasn't a kill shot. It was just enough to stall it long enough for her to get the hand and get into the vault.
Definitely. All I can say is that thing was clearly in pain, and the fact that she could cut its hands off, because I thought it was going to grab her at the end while she's trying to use one of the hands.
Yeah, I thought so too.
So
I thought for sure.
Yeah.
But when she reached and took the axe off the wall, I'm like, wait a minute. Are you going to go through every chop? Oh, you're going to go through every one. I hope that's the right one.
Yeah, no, I'm like,
Oh,
give her a hand. She's doing a great job.
because I really thought like that was gonna be where it ended. Like the fade out was just gonna be her going like chopping through like different arms to get the right hand. Oh,
Yeah, I just thought it was going to end in her death, and the fact that she got in,
that
I don't
too.
I don't know where she got in. To be fair, like I don't know what special.
Yeah, I think it seemed to be like the vault was where I don't know. Quinn made it seem like that's where the bigwigs were, the guys who were funding this. So like maybe there was enough water and food in there, and possibly some way to communicate with the outside world. Maybe.
I would assume the outside world thing would matter. Because it
Yeah.
doesn't seem like this future. Okay, so this future does seem dystopian in the sense that they're making people just to work in specific classes, right? That part of it is dystopian.
Right.
But the idea of a monster like this doesn't seem commonplace.
True.
So I do wonder if this does lead to some kind of video game situation,
Yeah.
you're gonna be the soldiers coming in to try and take it out.
Right. Or even just being part of like the. I think she was part of the medical staff or something, like with Barkley being in her position, trying to just escape and figuring out things as you go along.
Oh yeah, if it's not a direct one to one, like I thought that they would tie it into this, but you're right, if it's not a direct one to one, they can do whatever they want and have it kind of be a prequel slash its own thing. But I'm
Yeah.
saying that a prequel, if it is trying to adapt it, wouldn't be the best because it would just lead into this. So we know where it's going, so it's best to be something new in that universe. Like, oh yeah, she like in the game you'd find her in the vault,
Right.
and then she probably replaces her role as the character, but just doing the voiceover.
Right.
Although if it does become a game, which I do highly doubt in a sense, because it's not like other things that they've done have become games as far as I know, because they have other stuff
Yeah.
on their channel as well. But if it does end up
Yeah.
being a game, she can even do her own motion capture.
True.
I mean, we've had William Defoe do it for I forgot what game it was. It wasn't Heavy Rain, but it was a game like Heavy Rain.
Okay.
Something Souls or something. It's not Dark Souls. My brain is telling
I was
me.
about to say.
My brain is like William Defoe was in Dark Souls, and it's like no, he wasn't. No, he fucking wasn't.
Right.
I believe though. I think it might have been Kevin Spacey, or Kevin Costner. It might have been no. It might have been Costner. He was in a recent Call of Duty game, I think. So they're getting. I recently they've gotten a few different. And I say recently as like in the last 5 years to 4 years. They've gotten different actors to come in and do motion capture for video games. Wouldn't be surprising if this somehow. And it's funny because even if it wasn't made to be a video game, it can easily be adapted into one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like this has video game stink, and I say stink in a good way because you can smell nice. Video games stink all over it.
Yeah. Oh no, I would totally get a game like this.
You know what's funny? I usually wouldn't, but they got me hooked with this video.
Yeah.
Cause you know me, right? Everyone knows the games that we play on the show. Those guys play. They're usually of the older variety. Sometimes if they're indie, they're still 2D usually. So I normally wouldn't have played a game like this if it became, if this becomes a game. But after this video, someone should fund a game, or someone should definitely fund their next volume. I don't know if I would want this to become a full-on movie unless it's helmed by the original studio. But I definitely, yeah.
I mean, it seems like they're already working on like a second part because, there is mention of Volume 2, so they might just be trying to acquire a budget for Volume 2 and then start working on it.
Yeah, I don't know how they got the budget for this one, if they did some kind of Kickstarter or something like that. Regardless, if there's a Kickstarter that comes up with them, I would support them. They've done stuff before on their YouTube channel. This isn't their first, so if they need budget for a Volume 2 and they do some kind of Kickstarter, I would say, and I hope this doesn't bite me in the ass, but I would say right now, go fund it, if you enjoyed this movie, because I think these guys deserve a lot more money than they probably are already making. I don't know what they're making now, but they deserve more because they are very good at what they do. Again, only audio problems. That's it. If you can get the horror atmosphere right and it's only audio problems, either get someone else to help you with that, or don't have much dialogue. Have less. Because honestly, this, like all of the horror scenes in this were perfect.
Yeah.
I cannot complain.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like everything for me, but the visuals especially were really stunning for me. Just thinking of it as, as a fan, or not fan film, but like a
Indie.
Yeah.
So I don't think we have anything else to say about this. We could go on forever, but the problem is that we've currently already gone over, just by a few minutes, over what the film actually, like how long it actually was. So I see no reason to go longer.
Well, there was one other thing I wanted to point out.
Okay, please do.
The scene where she's running away from the monster and she finds what, I'm not sure, it definitely is not human, but that body that's on, I'm assuming, an autopsy table or an not experimentation, but...
I thought it was being experimented on.
I mean, it's possible, but it just looked like the different organs that were being pulled out, seemingly, seemed not human. And the head itself, I mean, it looked like it was in some sort of suit, but maybe that's just me. It didn't look, it was humanoid, but it did not look human to me. And I'm wondering how that, because she didn't say anything, and there wasn't any, like, reports or lab reports or anything like that lying around that you saw any text. So she just kind of stumbles across that, and I'm wondering what part that's going to have to play. So is there, like, an alien element to this, or...
I think this is our dummy finger. It's the Resident Evil 7 teaser dummy finger for this. We don't know what we don't know what it does. We know nothing about it, but we know that in Volume 2, all will be solved. So they just have to release a picture of the alien autopsy with, like, Umbrella Corporation in the background. I look at it like this. I think that they were doing some stupid shit. They were doing some stupid experiments on something they found, and it morphed with something, one of them potentially, and they essentially created a fucking monster.
Right.
Or they were doing experiments, not like removing things, but like actually like doing other kinds of sick and twisted experiments, with, bio this and bio, let's put this with this into this, and essentially created the creepiest Powerpuff Girls villain.
Oh my god.
I have ever seen. I think that something like that happened. It looks as if scientists did something stupid, which is cliche, but is accurate for sci-fi. Right? Like, a lot of sci-fi horror movies, when I think about them, start off with, well, this scientist really fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, it's usually the idea people just take something a bit too far. It's like, how far can I push this before shit gets horrifying or bad or all of the above?
Yeah, and then they do it, and then here we are.
Yep.
So I want to thank you all for listening in. We're going to wrap things up here. Very short episode, but hey, we brought back Monday Night Movies for you guys for another episode of, another episode of Monday Night Movies for Halloween in July. So I just want to thank you all so much for listening in, as always. Make sure to check out I assume you're listening to our podcast right now because here you are, right? But I don't know how you're listening to our podcast. You could be listening to our Blog Talk Radio account, which is thoseguysontheradio.com. Well, sorry, Those Guys on the Radio. blogtalkradio.com/thoseguysontheradio. Or you could be listening to us through our YouTube archives by searching up Those Guys on the Radio on YouTube and finding our archives there. Or you could be watching us or listening to us, whichever, through our iTunes account by searching up Those Guys Radio. Or I think it was just searching up Those Guys, actually. Search up Those Guys and you will find us. Another way you can be listening to us, or rather watching our Let's Plays that I mentioned way earlier. You can be watching our Let's Plays through our YouTube channel, Those Guys Play. Currently, we're in the last week of Halloween in July, which is sad, but it's okay. We're trying to, wrap a few things up, maybe even start a few games. And we will be also, even though we're ending Halloween in July soon, that does not mean that we don't do horror games around the year sprinkled in. We just like to really get horror heavy for Halloween in July, and of course for Halloween itself. So you can go search up Those Guys Play to find our YouTube channel. If you actually want to buy some merchandise of ours, you can go to our main website, which is teachproduction.net/merchandise, to get a bunch of different T-shirts that are either quotes, funny things we said on the show, on Those Guys on the Radio, or Those Guys Play variants. Or you can go to our eBay channel, which is /USR/Those Guys Radio, to not only get the same shirts, but you can also get some exclusive shirts on there, by the way. You can also get exclusive posters drawn by our very own Anthony Sanandris, who's podcasted with us as well as done Let's Plays with us. You can do that. You can get that through our eBay. And you can also buy some stuff from my personal collection. VHS tapes, DVDs, video games, and also a lot of other interesting accessories and stuff like that you can find over at our eBay channel that are exclusive to there. And if you want to help us keep the lights on, we would love you very much. We would thank you very much if you go to our Patreon account, which is /UG Productions, and you donate. And depending on what you donate, you can get a different kind of reward. Go there to find out what the rewards are. We're constantly adding new little things here and there. So, yeah, you can donate to us, and you can really help us out. So, thank you all so much, guys. We love you guys so much. Thank you so much for tuning in for this very, very, very short episode of Those Guys on the Radio. So, say goodnight, Tristan.
Good night, everybody.
See ya.